This is Vanessa with Chat with Nessa. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have the tremendously talented and busy Mike Moses. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's been a long
And this,
time, but we finally
yeah,
got
it's been a
together.
long time. We've been trying for what, 5 or 6 months?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and you know what? He's the chairman of the Veteran Armed Services Committee for the NAACP PG County, Maryland branch. Make sure I get that right. But he has so many other titles and accomplishments. 41 years of service in the federal government, way before he even started working with veterans. At the moment, he's an active member with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW, Disabled American Veterans, National Association for Black Veterans, American Legion, and former president of the Veterans Organization of the College of Southern, CSM. And he's done so much in his career. And so I'm so happy to finally that you're in good health now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know we went through the same thing, and that you're back with us, and that you're here, and you look so cozy in your king chair. I
Thank
love the
you.
so I really want people to get to know you because I have every branch of the military in my family except for Air Force. So
Okay.
I know about veterans issues. My husband works again with veterans at the VA. And so it fascinates me, we need to do even more for veterans. And you've done everything from A through Z over your long career. You have done it all. I'm not reading this 4-page bio, but I want you to talk about your accomplishments, what you're doing, what your projects are. You have a lot that you're doing to aid veterans. So I really want people to get to know you as a person and what you're doing. So I want to start from the very beginning of life and take it all the way back
Okay.
and ask about your formative years growing up and how many veterans were in your immediate family and what caused you to have such interest in being a service to veterans.
I really started out as far as members of my family. My dad, he was at Pearl Harbor when it was hit. He served as a police officer there, and then my son just finished doing 21 years in the Navy as a special ops. He did 2 or 3 tours of Afghanistan, and his job was, to this day I don't know. He never talks about it, but he completed it. He at first he didn't want to go in, but he finally did. He was a graduate from Bowie High School. So when he decided to go in, he went in. He said, "I'm just going in for a little bit." And he ended up 21 years. So I was proud of him. He sharpened his uniform. But I guess scuffling so much after I got out of my military obligation, it took me almost, excuse me, 10 to 15 years to get my benefits as a veteran. And I just didn't want most of the other veterans to go through the trials and tribulations I went through. So I studied hard. They taught me well. So I turned around and started working with my veterans. And I did it a couple of times, and it was successful. And during my past since 2013, really, hard nosed with it, I've had quite a bit of success helping the veterans gain their benefits. Some I dropped, some we couldn't do anything with. Others, it's really doing good, especially those who were in the military during Vietnam time as I was.
Wow, that's tremendous. So that's a great service. I just, veterans, I think they are overlooked even to this day. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people don't have the gratitude they should have towards veterans and the sacrifices they make and the families as well.
right.
Not just about the veterans, they come with people attached to them called their family that sacrifice just as much as they do.
Yeah, they do it. And it's a heck of a responsibility because the families play a large role in your existence before and after you get out the military. And
Yes,
that's,
and they're the support system that's usually the only thing they have
yeah.
when they come out of the military. So, what led you to choose a career after 41 years? You don't look that old, but after 41 years in the federal government, what chose you to get more deeply involved? You saw they weren't getting their benefits, you wanted to help out. Was there any other leading causes that caused you to really have a passion to work even further for veterans?
Yeah, because when I started working with the veterans, that was the only group that I had worked with all these years that turned around and said thank you. So that motivated me right there.
Wow. So the benefits, what other areas do you help them with? The assistance, their claims, their benefits, any other
Oh yeah.
areas that you feel they're lacking in? I know they're lacking in a lot.
Yeah, we go with the homeless, which they have quite a few places down in the Maryland area where they stay in the woods. I've always assisted the sheriffs and a group called Lifestyle, going into the woods and actually finding out where the veterans are. In some territory, you really can't go without a police escort because that's territory that's owned by the veterans, even though it's not in stone. You just can't go in there. And basically, the schooling, the education, and a lot of veterans, they received compensation 20, 30 years ago. And then over a period of time, they should have had their checkups and gone back to see what's going on, because after a while, the body begins to deteriorate. And you should go back, have the opportunity to go back to the doctors, to the private doctors, the military doctors, and say, hey, look, I'm still having some issues and some problems. You need to reopen up that case and find out what's going on, because, you can go ahead and say, well, look, this happened to me. I was shot when I was overseas, or I stepped off a truck and hurt my back, or I did this. Because a lot of veterans, when they go through boot camp, if you make it through that, your body went through some trials and tribulations. So when we're young and dumb. We don't care. We can get up and brush ourselves off because you're trained to forget the pain. But later on, you start getting up there and then rank, CVS doesn't work anymore. So you have to start telling VA, knocking on their door, saying, look, can you check this out? What's going on with me? And then you have the testimonies from the family members, the wives and the children and other friends and everything. And sometimes veterans just absorb the pain and just keep on going. So that's, at times that has to stop, because you wrote out a check to go to war for them, to give your life, put your life on the line. Now it's time for you to come home and, cash that check.
Yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of veterans, again, are just neglected. And I want to ask you, have you seen any trends during the pandemic, the past year and a half, with veterans? Or have a lot of them been getting treatment? Have a lot of them, what's the percentage of them getting COVID, getting vaccinated? Do you have any stats on how they're doing during this pandemic?
I don't have any actual data right now that I can go ahead and be specific with, but there was a resistance for a while, especially among Black veterans. It was a large resistance because of rumors, because of past experience, because of I don't knows and everything. And everybody think it was a chip put into the medicine that we receive and whatever. So they're kind of hesitant. But, it's interesting because when we went in boot camp, I mean, you stood in line, you've got about 16 shots, 8 in each arm. Nobody said anything then about getting a chip in your blood system and everything. So now when the time comes for you to really have something that's free that can really help you out, and we have the data with people dying and all this other stuff versus those who are not dying now, you have the data. But some veterans, the old timers, saying, you're not going to do that to me. But VA has tracked quite a few of them down and say, look, you need to have this done. This is what's going on right now. You're walking around with this ailment, that ailment. You're a Purple Heart. You're a Congressional Medal of Honor. Congressional Medal of Honor and some of the other Bronze Star, whatever. We owe that to you. And you need to come in so we can sit down and talk to you, so we can get this, squared away.
Yeah, and a lot of them have those old war injuries and other ailments, chronic ailments that will make, if they got COVID, that's who's passing, right? Those people with the other chronic conditions. And some of them, if they haven't had their health checkups and they haven't kept up with that with the VA, then they're more susceptible to even pass of COVID. The Delta variant is more serious than any other variant we've seen. And they're talking about this new MU variant. I'm like, what is that? Yeah. Another one coming? Yeah. But so I'm just wondering how they've been doing since the pandemic. Every segment of society has been affected in some kind of way, we know. Yeah. So I was just really curious how that, the VA was handling any of that, or how they're doing in general as a group, as veterans.
They're doing pretty good. I go to a meeting once a month. It's the veteran service organizations. And they all come together and we chit chat and we talk about what's going on, what's available, what's not available. But I commend VA because they're on top of that and they're doing their best. The only resistance we have is when the old timers say, I just don't want you to touch me. That's that mindset they're in. It's difficult to break through that.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as chairman of NAACP Veteran Armed Service Committee in Maryland State Commander for the National Association for Black Veterans, what are some of your current initiatives that you're working on to assist veterans? I know you have several projects going at one time. Can you share with us what some of your initiatives are right now?
Yeah, basically, I'm just sometimes, as far as history is concerned, I'm trying to make our Black veterans in our area aware that Prince George's County, Southern Maryland, were involved a lot with Black history pertaining to veterans. Veterans were more powerful than the NAACP and started years before the NAACP because we were the ones who went to the foreign land and served as a human. But yet when we came back, we had to deal with a lot of discrimination and complaint, things that were going on against us. If you look closely at some of these pictures that you see of Black men being hung, a lot of them are in their military uniform. And these are the things that people can't really deal with or entertain. But my biggest function right now is to let the Black veterans aware throughout the branches of the NAACP that, you have compensation, you have benefits, even if you don't receive financial benefits, you still have benefits that's entitled to you. We encourage all of them to enroll. That's why I ask a lot of people to contact me to enroll in what they call e-benefits now. Once you enroll in that, you develop your profile, and that will allow you to actually understand on a daily basis, weekly basis, what you're entitled to, the changes that are going on within the military itself. And sometimes, many times, I always ask those who have spouses to bring their spouses with them, because two heads are better than one. And when you start talking to that wife, that spouse, or that daughter, or whoever's taking your caregiver is, here's what's going on, then they'll stay on your back to stay into this and really look to see what your benefits are.
Yeah. So a lot of them aren't even aware of some of the benefits. Is that what you're saying? Some of them are not aware of the benefits that is there for them?
Right, exactly. Because when they came home, they went to the hospital and said, look, I had this ailment, I got hurt over there and there. The old VA turned around and said, well, you need to go on back home, find you a CVS on the corner someplace. That's your problem. And that was embedded in their minds 30 and 40 years ago. And now we have a hard problem trying to break that within them mentally and physically, and tell them, come on, that's the old school. You need to come on back now. We're going to work with this.
Wow. Okay. So most of your job is education.
Yeah.
Education is a big component of it. I know you also serve in many other organizations to serve veterans. Can you tell me about some of those other groups that you work with? I know NAACP, the Black Veterans Association, but you have so many other groups that you work with. Can you talk about some of the projects you're working on with some other groups outside of the NAACP?
I'm working with the sheriff's office and the state troopers. I've had several meetings with them off and on, because when veterans are stopped, traffic stopped, sometimes it all depends on how that officer approaches that veteran, on the left side or the right side. Some veterans, when they were active, and they had incoming might have come in mortars and whatnot, might have come in on their left side or their right side. And they don't want anybody to come close to them on that particular side. I had an incident where I was helping out in the college, where one of the veterans had a problem with the professor handing out papers on his right-hand side. Well, that's where he got shot at, on his right-hand side. So whenever somebody gets close to that, that brings back that PTSD, and he starts freaking out in the classroom. For a while, they didn't understand what was going on, but it's things like that we get into. And then another thing I'm working with is MST. I have a dynamic team that helps me with that MST, that military sexual trauma. And females are really coming out of the woodwork with that. And I have 2 retirees from VA who helped me work with that, and they've taken full responsibility on with the MST. Because a lot of times when females start talking, they don't want to talk to that male image. They understand what's going on, but they want to talk to a female who's been there. And I have a young lady who's working with me who did 21 years in the Marine Corps, and she she doesn't play. She goes straight for the jugular vein, and she helps out a lot. And then being the other 2 retired people who are familiar females with the transitions that are going on. Then we take it upon ourselves also to visit the various what we call CBOCs, the opening new it's the community-based veterans outpatient clinic. This is where veterans are treated. They have one on Allentown Road. They have one, the newest one is on Route 5. Then they have one down in St. Mary's. Well, some of the individuals, we kind of cruise through there and just to look to see what the benefits are, to see if it's really compatible with our veterans and their psychological changes that's going on right now. So we have that. We go to the colleges, and we're also venturing out right now to the museum that's located down in the southern part of Maryland, which is the Veterans Museum. A lot of Blacks have, veterans have artifacts that belong to their grandparents or people like that, just laying around the house. God forbid if that veteran, dies or whatever, that stuff is going to go in the trash. So what I've been doing for the last 6 months of the year, asking all of them to start bringing everything into one local point. And we're going to, on Veterans Day coming up this year, we're going to donate those items into the museum so we can have visibility. Because right now the museum doesn't have any type of visibility as far as Black veterans' participation in the wars.
Really? So that would be great. Yeah, you know what? Maybe send me a link to the museum website, because I think people probably don't even know that museum exists.
Yeah, it used to be an old school, Glassfoot School on the left-hand side of 301, just before, when you make the turn to Budds Creek.
Yeah, I know what that is.
That old school sits right on the corner. Well, the county gave that museum to a gentleman who used to be on the school board for $1. And he said, well, I'm going to make a museum out of it. And you just could not believe in 5 years they had so many donations coming from veterans that live here in the Southern Maryland, that live in PG, Southern Maryland. They're coming from everywhere. So what the museum, Black Museum downtown, didn't get, Black Museum, this particular museum is beginning to absorb a lot of things. And that museum is recognized by the Smithsonian Institute. They have their recognition and their certification. So,
Wow.
in fact, they've
Wow. I'm gonna look
outgrown.
that up and share it under the broadcast. I did not know that that existed. I bet you a lot of people don't know that that's there.
Yeah, yeah. And what we're
Yeah.
doing, I'm asking everybody before it really gets cold to take a Saturday or a Sunday, because that's when it's open on Saturday and Sundays from 9 to 4. So just cruise down there and just go through the museum, take a little tour down there to see what's going on and see what's can be feasible for us to start bringing a lot of our culture into it, so we can see what we really did. Because there's not one war in history that the blacks veteran did not participate in, not one.
That's yeah. We fought even before we were slaves fighting for other people's freedom, and we
Yep.
weren't even free.
No. And interesting enough, they during the 18 down in the Southern Maryland area, they used to drive around in Maryland with these tags at the war 1812,
Mm-hmm.
and blacks donate. They had so much to be involved with that war, because when that war came, the British came to this area and they said, okay, any blacks that want to go ahead and go to Britain and join in the fight against Napoleon, once you step foot on that ship, you're free. The economic development down here went bankrupt in the Southern Maryland area and PG, because most blacks left their families and went on and jumped to the British ships to go, and they did. So when they went over there and they accomplished the goal of knocking Napoleon and his forces down, they had the opportunity to come back to this area. But when they came back to this area, they got their families, they got everybody else, and that's where the war 1812 really initiated from. So one day they looked up and saw all these about 60 ships sitting right there, down there, right off the river. They come back to get their families and everything else. And then they were the ones that trickled all the way up through PG, Southern Maryland, all the way up to the Washington, D.C. And they participated in trying to, getting a lot of recognition back that they had. But the black soldiers, they also trained in those British soldiers how to do guerrilla warfare. That's how come some of the Marines are well known over there as special ops now, because that was some good training.
Wow. And now I know more about the soldiers, African Americans in the Civil War. I mean, they had a big, again, and a lot of them were promised their freedom. And then after the Civil War, some of them had their freedom, and it depends on what part of the country you lived in. You didn't have your freedom even after you fought and bled. And a lot of African Americans died fighting in the Civil War. And some of them fought for the
Oh, yeah.
Confederacy.
Yeah.
So I know more about the Civil War. So the War of 1812, after, because I love history. I
Yeah.
was a history minor, and so I look at anything history. Because my dad, who was a veteran of 82nd Airborne, my dad,
Okay. Okay.
he passed 2 years ago. But 82nd Airborne, I grew up listening and looking at everything history with military with my dad,
Okay.
because that was his whole, anything military history, he was in it. Okay.
Yeah.
And he always used to say, I want you to spread my ashes over Fort Bragg. I said, I don't think the
Hmm.
government's going to let me, put your I'm not going to get arrested putting your ashes over Fort Bragg in North Carolina, because that's where he was stationed, right? Yeah, but I have to research the War of 1812, but I know about the Civil War, the sacrifices that the African Americans, and a lot of people don't realize a lot of African Americans fought for the Confederacy, because the Confederates promised them their freedom
Right.
after the war if they won.
Yep.
Okay, and we know they didn't win, so a lot of them did not get their freedom.
Right. And the
After the
blacks
Civil
own
War.
that war. The war 1812, we own that. And we had the audacity to ride around here with tags on our cars for 5 years saying the war 1812. And then you ask the question, do you know what that war was all about? It was us. It was us. They said, well, I don't even know what you're talking about, Mike. But then I asked them to go home and look it up. And once they
Yeah,
look it up, they come back and say, I didn't know all this was going on. I said, yeah, that was us. We did that.
yeah. So many times in history, African Americans have, and high-ranking African Americans in the military, it's
Oh,
in
yeah.
the Civil War and a lot of different wars, but yet got very little recognition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very little recognition for what they sacrificed, in every war we ever fought in. Very little recognition.
Yeah.
I really want to ask you though, I know you have a mission to promote and empower veterans and serve your community. Where do you think that passion, besides your dad, your military background, yourself, your son, where does your passion come from, just for the passion you have to get up every day and do all that you do for the veteran community?
I guess the passion is just God just gives me the strength to keep on. Sometimes you you want to do things for people, and like I said earlier, veterans always turn around and say thank you, no matter how difficult it is. But that means a lot. That means a lot, because all I do is free. Everything, I don't get paid for anything else. I work 24/7. My phone just rings, going and coming, and basically, I find a good desire doing that. In fact, it's so much that I've even trained my wife. She's actually becomes accredited now as far as VSO. And so she
Well,
goes.
can anyone become accredited? How do you do that? Can you share how you get accredited?
Yeah,
Can anyone do that?
they have a course. It's called a trip. So you have to pass the trip test, uh, HIPAA, and rules of behavior. That's one of the main three objects that VA knocks on the door and say you have to have that under your belt.
Now I know about HIPAA. Remember, I'm in insurance. I know HIPAA.
Okay. So then the
Okay.
rules of behavior, and then this other one is called the trip class. It's a class that consists of 16 chapters. I mean, it takes you it takes you through a hard course of boot camp of actually letting you know what the federal, state, and local laws dealing with veterans. You have to know that, and it's good. It's going to make you work. But the only
And
thing,
once you do that, then you can service, you can volunteer to service, and really you're certified to be a service person, that, I mean, a lay person to service veterans. Is that how that works?
yeah. And then we have a little course on our side that we have within ourselves that we developed that's been recognized to actually do that. You won't break a sweat helping somebody. You actually become a coach. You coach the person how to sit down and do their benefits. And so that way you don't interfere with them as far as their social security number, because we asked everybody to sign a disclaimer. That way they everybody's comfortable with you helping them do this, coaching them with their benefits. And I mean, the door is open. It's just amazing the things that are there for them that they just don't know.
That's amazing. So when your website is up and running again, you have to give it to me so I can do a post, because you're saying the website, your webmaster is working on updating your site, right? Is that on your website, the
It
information?
will be. It will be. Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay. So you got to make sure you get that to me so I can do a post, and I'll put your flyer back up, and
Okay.
just, as a social media stuff, like on, Instagram and on Facebook and LinkedIn too, because, that's a great way to, I don't know if you use LinkedIn or not. That is the site. I love LinkedIn even more than Facebook, because actually LinkedIn has a lot of professionals from all over the world,
Yeah.
and they have different groups on LinkedIn too, that you can really get more people engaged. So when you get that information, I'd love to have it.
Okay. And one day when you get a chance, we'll both sit down and I'll show you some of the tricks and whatnot of actually helping a veteran, deal and actually develop his profile or whatever. And once you see that, you'll sit back, you'll say, you'll take a deep breath, say, okay, I'm ready for this. And I guarantee you, after your first 2 or 3 individuals that you help, you'll be nonstop.
Well, that's great. Yeah, yeah. I believe in helping and helping. It's all about helping, giving back to those who gave for you. They sacrificed a lot,
Yeah.
to serve this country. And that's the least anybody can do is, even if it's not every week, you step up and volunteer and get some skill set to help out. So I know I know, because Dr. Millie Johnson, I think I put her in touch with you. You have some exciting stuff coming up. And what are some of your partnerships with other organizations and some projects that you have coming up in the future, lined up for 2021 and beyond?
Well, as
Any
far
partnerships or things you're doing?
well, right now we have existing. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6 other branches, chapters that assist and help me out. We go all the way from Prince Frederick all the way down to Solomon's Island, and within that we have 8 different commanders who are doing the same thing I am. They're retired and they're laid back, and they're helping people out the same exact way. So we meet once a month. When we meet once, we kind of brainstorm. And what is coming on board with us, we have several registered nurses who have come from Prince George's Hospital, in addition to Southern Maryland Hospital, who work with us part-time. So who actually sit down and educate us and say, okay, this is what's going on with the human body. You need to pay attention to this. And then over a period of time, if you hear the same thing over and over again, you know exactly what to go for and actually help the veteran. So that way, when we quote the federal law, Article 38, we have something to stand on. And when we put that into their claims and whatnot, and when they go forth to file a claim or whatever, that helps a lot. And with us being more educated, because every case we do is different. I don't care who it is. You know, we might have something that sounds identical, but when you buckle down and see the various medals this particular veteran was awarded, the trials and tribulations he went through, what he had to go through to get through boot camp, what he did after boot camp, you know, it just adds up. And you just shake your head and say, I thought I heard everything, but you know, this is something else. We've had pastors who have come to us, helping us, asking us to help them as far as the churches, because sometimes they have what they call altar call.
Mm-hmm.
And after everybody leaves the front of the church from altar call, you may have one or two individuals who are still kneeling there, and the pastor has come in and he said, look, I can't handle this situation because this is a veteran and he has some issues that are going on. And so we're helping the churches in the area. And we had a case not too long ago where a veteran came in with his mom, his girlfriend, and the pastor, and they were talking and everything. So they said the complaint they had with him that he watches TV all the time. And they said, well, there's no harm in him watching television. So we kind of went back and forth. So the gentleman, he had to excuse himself, go to the bathroom. So I asked him, I said, why are you all not wasting your time? But why are you all here? Because you say he's complaining he's watching TV. I said, that's good. That's good therapy for him. They said, well, Mr. Mike, the reason why we're disturbed, the TV hasn't worked in 3 years. And the channels that he's turning are the channels of his friends that were killed in Vietnam. So that kind of really stunned everybody. So immediately, where I was working at, I had some psychiatrists there working with me, and I asked them to come into the meeting, and they were able to go ahead and address them in a private set in another room. But we have issues like that all the time.
Wow. So that's amazing. I mean, so that's the PTSD
Yes, ma'am.
that he's reliving. And most veterans, a lot of them don't they have some have night terrors,
Oh, yeah.
and they have, they still reliving all that trauma from what they went through. So the TV was not on at all.
No, the TV was broken. It had been broken for 3 years.
And he would sit all day and just watch and stay, and he would be seeing the guys he served with.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a regular pastor who does not a veteran could not deal with that, right? So that's why you're getting the calls from the churches.
Yeah.
Because you have to have that special training, which leads to my next question. I know you have the TRIP program. What is the program again when you can get trained to coach and help with veterans?
It's called TRIP. It's called TRIP training. I'll send you some more brochures and what to identify what it exactly is.
So is that the only area someone can serve in? Is there any other area where you need volunteers? Or how can people assist? Besides, if they don't want to go through the TRIP program, name some ways where people can assist.
They can help out with the clothing. They can help out with these veterans who may need some assistance going to the grocery store. A lot of veterans don't understand how to work with their cell phones, because with this virtual thing coming up now, VA has gotten real sophisticated and they're becoming more intelligent. So they're relying, they say, well, every veteran doesn't have a computer on his desk or in front of him, but he has a cell phone. So they're turning everything around. So we're trying to work out things with the various telephone companies in the area to give us tutorials so we can train the veterans how to use their cell phone so they can actually call their physicians and their doctors using e-benefits, or they call them My Healthy Vets. And once they actually understand how to do it, because most veterans, they hand their phones to their grandkids or somebody else sitting beside them. That doesn't work anymore. They have to have the true identity of them, because there's so much fraud that's going on. So when VA comes up on the screen, they'll say, are you the true Mike? Blah, blah. Show me 2 various identifications you have. Let's go ahead and take it. So when you hold your identification up to the screen, VA takes a picture of whatever the identification you have, and it matches your face and everything. So then every time that you want to find out what's going on with your claim or your benefits, whatever, they're going to send you a 6-digit code on your cell phone. Then you'll type that in, then they'll know that's your password. And that's what's going on right now as far as entertaining with the veterans, as far as trying to get them more educated. But it's a big education ball that's going on right now with our veterans.
So you can use help with people who step up and volunteer with clothing drives, educating, volunteering. Even some veterans are disabled. They need help and assistance, even going to the grocery store, just basic everyday things too as well, right?
Just talking to them. These kids that are coming back now from Afghanistan, they just need somebody to talk to. Because there's just so much of the trials, the things that happened to them while they were over there. Some of them some of the veterans can't even ride past Andrews Air Force Base because of the jet fumes. They can't go past anything that's camouflaged past the reserve units down there for 301. They just don't want to see anything like that. So sometimes just talking to a vet, Say, are you a veteran? Hey, it's good. Just anything, just to let them know that somebody did appreciate what they're saying thank you, because they did serve over a period of time trying to work it out.
Okay. Now, can people, the email that you gave me, the veteran assistance, if the veterans need help, they send that, they go to that email. Can people also use that email if they want to volunteer?
Please, I would
Okay, I
encourage
just
that.
want to make sure. Okay,
Yeah.
now I want to ask you, what words of wisdom or advice would you give to anyone listening in regards to working with veterans, or why they should step up and volunteer or get involved to help out in the veterans community? What would be your words of wisdom to people who are not volunteering, not reaching out? They might even have veterans in their family, but they've never volunteered or thought about. The veterans community is not even a part of their everyday thinking, right? What would you be your words of advice to that person listening?
Well, basically, you have veterans around you all the time. You have them in your family, you have your friends. They actually work in the various stores or whatever. Just sometime reaching out, once you identify that they're a veteran, just say thank you. Like, I know you went through some hell over there, and I know you're trying to, transition back home and everything. I can be your friend. I can listen to your conversation, or I know where to go. I can point you into Mike or Nessa. I can point you to different people. At least I know something that I can help you out with, because I heard it at church. I heard it on Facebook or whatever, if you just need that particular help. But, you could go to this person over there because I know they're on Allentown Road, or I know they're on Malcolm Road. Go over there and touch base with them. Just don't walk around here like that, that you're all alone and by yourself, because you're not. You're not.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure that people have your email address is listed below this broadcast on
Okay.
Facebook. It's all going to be my YouTube channel to really step up, volunteer, because if they don't want to go through the formal trip program, you need help with clothing and just mentoring and helping and assisting the daily challenges that veterans may have. So I'll
Right.
make sure the veterans also know, who are listening, that they can reach out to you for assistance, because you have so many different programs that are here for them. And then I'm going to look up that museum. I did not know that Veterans Museum was there. And then people need to get involved and take a visit, because you said it's only open on the weekends, right?
But right now, because of the COVID, what's going on, they're open on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. Well, you know what, Mr. Mike, it took you 5 months. It took us 5 months to get together. And I know why. You have 3 cell phones. So now I know why you're not looking at my text. Because you have 3 phones, all this going on, several organizations that you serve in. I don't see how you do it all. You have to have time for for your family too, right?
Oh yeah, well,
So,
on weekends I melt down. On
okay, so
weekends,
you do have family time. That's
yeah,
important.
yeah.
Okay.
On weekends I melt. I just disappear.
That's good, because you have to have time for yourself to recharge your batteries. One thing I know, my mom was a minister. One thing I do know, you can't help anybody until you recharge your own batteries. You can't pour into other people if you're empty. That's one
Right.
thing I do know. But I thank you finally that you got on chat with Nessa. And of course, we'll be in touch. And when that website is up and running,
Okay.
because that way people know how they can go to your website, they get the resources, and maybe even take the trip training. Because if you need more people to step up that, want to volunteer in any kind of way, but I'll make sure they have that email address today as well.
Okay, that sounds like a winner.
Okay, well, thank you for all you do, and we're going to stay in touch. And if I don't see the text right back, I know that you did 3 phones at once. I won't. I know the email is the best way to get you. If I
Yeah.
email you and say check your email,
Yeah.
I know that you'll look at email, but I know that you're a man that's in command and in demand because of what you're doing. And I thank you for your service and
Thank
all that you're doing in the community to help the veterans. We need even more people to do this.
you. Yeah.
It's very, very important. And thank you for all that you're doing and sacrificing, because it is a sacrifice to do what you're doing, and
Yeah.
you're doing it on your time.
Yeah.
And after you're serving the government, you just could have went and said, "I'm chilling. I'm gonna retire and stay retired and chill." But you are really serving, and you don't have to do that. You could just be sitting home and chilling.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but so thank you for your service, and I'll make sure everybody has your information to get in touch with the veterans who need help, counseling, or whatever you need, and the people who need to step up in the community and make sure they volunteer. And don't forget to thank your veterans, who really, we owe our freedom to them.
Yeah.
Every generation does. So thank
Okay.
you for all you do, and I finally thank you for coming on Chat with Nessa. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, you too. Thank
Okay. All
you.
right. Bye bye.